saving time, saving stress, saving money. You're going to learn all of those literally in less than 15 minutes, and it's going to put you far ahead of anyone that hasn't watched this video. And the reason why I'm so confident in that is my name's Wayne Turner. For nearly 30 years, I've bought, flipped, sold. I've helped thousands of people, and I'm excited to share with you this information. It's completely free, because when I first started in the real estate business, there was barely the internet, and Lord forbid we didn't have cell phones and all of that stuff. But what I've learned is the countless mistakes that I want to share with you, not just myself, but my clients have made over the years. Now, number one, just to jump right in, is you don't need 20% to buy a house. Now, a lot of people say we need 20%, you should have 20%. Listen, it's great if you can put 20% down, 15% down, you avoid that private mortgage insurance. But at the end of the day, you also have to look at, wait a minute, what's it costing me to save that money? And if I'm having to work and save up 20%, if you buy a $200,000 house, which you and I both know, give me a thumbs up if you'll agree, or type in yes in the comments, it's hard to find a house that's $200,000. And even if you put 20% down on a $200,000 house, that's still 40 grand. And it's extremely hard to save up $40,000. And even if you do, you avoid the PMI, right? But if you paid the PMI, what's the difference in losing the PMI, not paying the PMI, and dividing those numbers? I don't mean to confuse you, but at the end of the day is, homes are going up in value, and they have been on an average around 4% for literally over 100 years. So don't let it get hung up or caught up. I'm not trying to sell you on anything. I could care less if you buy a house or rent for the rest of your life. It doesn't matter. This is just good information so you can know that don't let that having to have 20% prevent you from looking to buy a home. And the reason for that is you can do FHA with 3.5% down. A lot of people miss that. You can also do conventional. Now the difference is that 1.5% is 5% down conventional, 3.5% FHA. The difference is you have to pay private mortgage insurance with both of those. But if you got a conventional loan, once you hit 20% equity, that gets taken off your monthly payment. So you don't have to pay private mortgage insurance once you have 20% equity in the property. A lot of people don't realize that. Now, another thing that's really important, and a lot of people are like, well, I would never do that. Well, some people aren't aware of it. Whether it's your first house, investment property, maybe you're buying an apartment complex, it doesn't matter. You'll always want to make sure you get it inspected. Now, not just inspected, but thoroughly inspected. I mean, like, you may want to have the HVAC inspected. Does it have a septic system? You may want to have that inspected. What about the well? You may want to have that inspected. You see, a general home inspection may run you anywhere from $400 to $700. It'll give you peace of mind, but you have to understand that oftentimes they're not inspecting the well, they're not inspecting the septic system, and they're turning on the HVAC and looking for a temperature variance and differentiation, but at the end of the day, they're not putting gauges on it to know if it's good or bad or not working properly. Now, another mistake that people make, and years ago, people didn't have houses inspected, believe it or not. Even when I got into the business 30 years ago, for the first 7 years, literally, we didn't inspect houses. Like, you just walked around, looked at it, and said, yeah, there's something wrong with it there, and you asked the seller to fix it. They did, or they didn't. You bought the house. It's totally different now. And contracts are mandated. It still says in there that the home is to be inspected, or it can be inspected in time frame. Bottom line is you want to inspect it, but once it's inspected, you're going to get a list from the home inspector, and they're going to show you things that are broken or not working to their intended function. You reserve the right, listen to me, you reserve the right to ask the seller if they'll fix those items. You simply sign a piece of paper with your real estate agent if you have one that's working for you, and that agent will present it to the listing brokerage agent, and they'll negotiate that for you on your behalf with the seller. Because you simply can tell the seller, hey, I still want to buy your house, but unfortunately the roof's in bad shape, or it's got a leak or a leaky faucet. Failing to have those things inspected can cost you dearly, and failing to have the seller fix those can cost you a lot of money after you close on the house. Now, something that people miss, and listen, this is good stuff for real estate agents too. If you have a real estate agent or broker, somebody you know, friends, family, share that with them, because this is valuable information. It's title insurance. You're probably thinking, oh, what is title insurance? Listen, title insurance, a house has a deed and a title. And the deed shows who's on it, and the title basically shows who has control of that. And you have to understand, you want to make sure you have a title insurance policy. The reason for that is if there's ever been any kind of work on the property, back taxes, liens, encumbrances, they search and do all of that, and they want to make sure you get a clear title, but you also want to make sure you get a clear title policy. If you're getting a loan, the lender's going to require that you have simultaneous issues so they're covered on their end, and you're also covered. I always tell anybody, I don't care if you're buying a piece of raw land, commercial property, it doesn't matter. When in doubt, get a title policy. And it really just depends on your state and your area. Some states, the sellers pay for your title policy, and then when they buy a property, the seller pays, and they buy a property, the seller pays. But oftentimes, like in the state of Louisiana, where I'm at, for example, the buyer pays for their title policy. In Tennessee, There's certain parts of Tennessee, Nashville area where the seller pays for title policy. Most importantly, get a title policy. That way, no one's going to come knocking on your door after you close on the home and said, hey, I did work, I put a roof on the property, you owe me $20,000. You can say, no, bud, you're wrong, you can get off my property. I've got a clear title on this home. Now this one is huge, and it is a big no-no, and so many people miss this. They're not told this by the lender, and it kind of drives me crazy. It's so important. Don't spend any money on anything once you're approved to buy a house. Once you're approved to buy a house, don't spend your cash. Don't go buy furniture. Don't go buy a computer. Don't put anything on credit. Certainly don't go buy a new car. You can do that stuff after you close on the sale of a home, on your purchase of your home, but don't do it before. And here's the reason why. Because when you purchase anything, it shows that you're taking cash out, and they're looking at you have cash and now you don't have cash. If you're buying and you're getting the house with very little money down, you don't have a whole lot of cash, but you just went and put stuff on credit. It reduces your credit score. It lowers your credibility, because here's what's going to happen. Right before closing, 3 to 4 days before closing, they're going to pull your credit again. And if your credit drops, you guessed it, you're not approved anymore, can't buy the house. Now, something that I find is a little crazy, and a lot of real estate agents miss this, is they just assume that, well, there's the property, it starts over there, there's a fence, right? And there's a fence over there. Listen, get a copy of the survey. Ask the agent to get a copy of the survey from the seller. If the seller doesn't have a copy of the survey, call the closing attorney who's going to be closing the transaction, the title company or the closing attorney. Ask them if they can get you a copy of the survey. During your due diligence period, that's that inspection period from the time you sign the contract, says you're going to have within 10 to 14 days typically to do your inspection on the property. You want to take that survey, you want to walk around the property, make sure nothing is encroaching upon your land, that's the house that's about to be yours. Because you'd be amazed that you'll see a mow line and that's not your property. Or you'll see where that seller's been mowing on that side and it's like, oh no, he's been mowing 10 feet over there, that's not your property. Or there's a storage building or a fence. Most importantly, you want to make sure that you walk the property with a survey. You can also go to your county clerk of courts, registers of deeds office, wherever you live, county, state, doesn't matter. Give them the municipal address of the property and they'll pull a survey. Every plot of land is surveyed. They're all surveyed. And they'll have a recorded survey. They'll give you a copy of the survey. You can measure the meets and bounds, the footage, the road frontage, everywhere. You'll want to walk that property. That way you know, before you close, if there's anything encroaching upon the property, the seller can address it, not you. But there's a little bit more to it. Is this good? Y'all liking this information? You liking this information? Give me a thumbs up. Let me know. Say it in the comments. And if I'm missing anything, say, hey, what about this? Or you missed that. It gives me good content to make more information so I can help you and others. One of the things a lot of people miss is insurance claims. You see, a lot of folks don't realize that there may or may not have been an insurance claim on that house. Has the house ever flooded? What's the flood zone? Is it in a flood zone area? Is the land in a flood zone? Is the house in a flood zone? Are both in the flood zone? Are they in A, B, or C? You see, A flood zone is a little bit higher and it's required. So if you're in any sort of A flood zone, and there's 26 states that border water in the United States, out of 50, right? So you have to understand that there's a lot of houses in flood zones. Flood zone A, the mortgage lender is going to require that you have flood insurance because you're at a higher risk of that house flooding. Flood zone B and C, it's not required. It's going to be a little bit less expensive. But you can't let that scare you because you have places all around the country, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Louisiana. We have flood zone C, we have flood zone X, flood zone B, and the flood insurance may run only $600 or $700 a year, not a month, just a year. And the house may have not ever flooded. That land may not have ever flooded in 40, 50, 60 years, but you still want to have flood insurance. Me personally, I'm not living anywhere around the coast without flood insurance. Now this one's a good one, and it's about insurance. And I mentioned claims. You have to also know that you can check with your homeowner's insurance. And typically a lot of people, whoever they have their automobile insurance, they'll go and say, hey, can I get a discount if I have automobile? Do y'all do homeowners insurance, that sort of thing? Whether it be Nationwide, State Farm, all those big companies, and they're small companies too, definitely shop around. Here's what you have to look out for. Have them pull that address of that property and see if there's ever been any claims. Believe it or not, they can do that and say, hey, that house was struck by lightning twice. Or that house has had a fire, but it wasn't caught. You see, if there's been a lot of claims on the property, believe it or not, some, not all, but some insurance companies will charge you more for homeowners insurance just because that house had a previous claim. Now let's jump back over to the lending side of things and the mortgage side of things. You just have to know that the seller can pay your closing costs. Closing cost, as I mentioned, is going to run you 3.5% of the loan amount. So whatever you borrow on the house is going to be 3.5%, but the seller can pay all that for you. Now, it may be something that's like, oh, I'm good, I can pay my own closing costs. You have to know this when you're negotiating the offer, and it's really important that when the seller pays your closing cost, that's the money less they're not coming off the price. So if they're not coming off the price, you buy a $300,000 house, they're going to cover all of your closing costs. That's 3.5%. That's like 11 grand. Forgive me if my math is wrong. I'm just using my brain. 11 grand's coming off the house. So if you buy it for $300,000, they pay your closing costs, then you're basically buying the house for $289,000. However, you're financing $3 because they're paying your closing costs. You see what I mean? It's less money that you're coming out of pocket, but at the end of the day, you are financing that money. Now, don't get lost in that, because oftentimes it's not the cost of the money, it's the availability of the money. And if it gets you in a house and you get a home in an area that's good for your children, your schools, your family, or whatever it may be, then it's a win-win. You also have to understand that when you're negotiating a house, and I've seen so many people do this over the years, and I've tried to show people, and I've learned a way to literally put the pen to the paper. Now, if you're not writing this stuff down, please take notes, watch the video multiple times. It's good stuff, I know, and I really appreciate all that you do, liking and sharing. You want to take a pen and a piece of paper and you want to write down, what is my mortgage payment? So you want to know what your mortgage payment is, principal and interest. And you can simply do that by going to Google and typing in mortgage payment calculator. I can tell you, and I can save you the trouble, that for every $10,000 that you borrow is $64 right now at a 6.5% rate on a 30-year mortgage. So if you're negotiating over $5,000, that's $32 a month. If you're negotiating over $10,000, that's $64 a month. If it's $15,000, it's $100 a month difference. So that's what you have to look at. Don't necessarily look at that big price, because it's thousands of dollars coming from the seller at the point of sale and the closing, right? But when you're buying it, you're financing that over 30 years, and it's not going to make a huge significant difference in your payment. I'm not trying to talk you into anything, and certainly not trying to talk you to borrow money. But if you really like the house, don't let having to sacrifice maybe a Starbucks twice a week get in the way. Now, I'm not trying to beat up on Starbucks. I used to go there every day with my dog. We used to jump in the Jeep and go to Starbucks there in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Here's what you can do when you're at Starbucks. Google the property address. A lot of people forget to Google the property address. Yes, you can sit down at a computer or your phone and Google the property address. When you do that, it's going to show you if there's ever been any lawsuits or claims or anything filed, because all of that stuff is public information, and it will let you know why it's filed. Was there a flood? Was there damage? Was there repairs not made, yes made, between the seller and the buyer in the previous? And you can learn a lot about the house. Things that you can learn that the insurance agent didn't give you, can't give you, or the home inspector didn't give you or can't give you. And at the end of the day, that can be a huge deciding factor of whether you buy that house or not buy that house. Now, two more things. I hope I hadn't bored you with this video. Thank you if you're still there, and I hope you find this valuable. So give me a thumbs up, share it, like it, comment, all that good stuff. It lets YouTube know, and Wayne's a good boy and he's doing good. Two other things. One is, it's okay to talk to the neighbors. And get out on a Saturday or Sunday and talk to the neighbors. And so I always tell real estate agents, for example, don't call your clients on Monday with bad news, or call them on, let me give you feedback. At the end of the day, you call it Fun Fridays. Fridays, typically people are in the best of mood. So knock on doors, ask people on Fridays, Saturdays, Sunday afternoons. They'll typically be home, they're a little bit more relaxed. Ask them what they like most about the neighborhood. Ask them about the house, ask them about the neighbors. How long did they live there? You can do so much research on a house and find out a little bit about the neighbor and the neighborhood. Did they not like dogs? Did they like dogs? You have dogs, you don't have dogs, you don't like dogs. It doesn't matter. You can find out so much just by talking to the neighbors. And secondly, know the school zone. I can't emphasize that enough. Whether you're going to have kids, you think you might have kids, know the school zone. Because oftentimes, and I've seen it happen before, people are like, oh my gosh, I forgot to look at the schools. I didn't realize, and we're literally want to start our family. We want to be in this school district. So most importantly, look at schools, do your research, home inspections, all of that good stuff. I hope you find this helpful. My name is Wayne Turner. Thank you for watching. Give me a like, a share, a comment. Let me know if you want to hear or learn anything about real estate. I answer almost every single comment myself. Until next time, thank you, and may God bless you.